Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another iteration of The Alpha, the show where we talk about the hottest topics in pop culture and sports, wherever you are and however you may be listening. Welcome. I want to give a brief disclaimer before we start the show. I am been a little bit under the weather the last couple of days, but I know I did just recently post an episode, actually 3 days ago since I'm filming this one today. But today is April the 14th. I have not filmed an episode in like 12 days. It was literally a week and 5 days ago. It was on a Wednesday since the last podcast that I filmed, and that was during the week of SemiCon. That was almost 2 weeks ago. So it's been a long time. I got some very old topics that I've been wanting to talk about, but they're going to be great and they are going to be interesting. But before we get into all that, be sure to hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the Alpha Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and as well on YouTube. I thank you guys for joining me, and let's get into the show. So, we've had some interesting things going on surrounding Sheduer Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders. We all know the chokehold that primetime Deion Sanders has put on the atmosphere of college football. The way he's revolutionized it and changed it. Well, it's came back to essentially haunt his son. So there's been a lot of hatred going on with Sheduer Sanders lately. And I want to get on the bottom of it because it's not making any sense. A week ago, in some change, Sheduer had his pro day. And there was a lot of discourse going on with NFL players. Specifically, it was a defensive back from the Jaguars talking about Sheduer Sanders patting the ball and saying, oh, we're going to break on that. And I was like, okay. Tom Brady pats the ball. Josh Allen pats the ball. Patrick Mahomes pats the ball. Lamar Jackson pats the ball. What are we talking about? All the big name quarterbacks that's ever played well, the Peyton Mannings, they all patted the football. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is the fact that Sheduer has been falling in the draft. So when we first started the draft coverage, probably around right after the college football season had ended, a lot of people Sheduer was a top 3 pick. A lot of people were even thinking, hey, the Titans might actually draft Sheduer over Cam Ward. And then over the last month and a half, it's like Sheduer Sanders essentially has become one of the worst prospects in the history of the NFL at the quarterback position because he just keeps falling in everybody's mock draft. Right now, as we speak, Mel Kiper has him going 9th to the Saints. But that wasn't until a couple of days ago they just announced that Derek Carr might not be available this upcoming season because of a shoulder issue. So at the Saints at 9, they're basically set up. You got no choice but to get a quarterback at this point. But before all that happened, essentially, Sheduer was going to go in the top 3. He was going to go. Probably a lot of people were going to the Giants at 3. A lot of people have been thinking about him at the Browns at number 2 with the quarterback situation they got going on with Deshaun Watson. And then now with the acquisition of Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, the Giants are not in the picture. A lot of people don't think the Browns is in the picture because you can't really, they're saying the Browns aren't going to draft another quarterback and you got to eat that dead cap. Why would you start when you're giving Deshaun Watson all that money? So they're looking at possibly doing somebody like Travis Hunter or getting another edge rusher in Abdul Carter. So now Sheduer has slipped out of the top 5, slipped out of the top 10. At one point, we had Sheduer going 20th, 26th, going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which makes sense because Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. And then on top of that, I saw an article recently last week, and I screenshotted it, and it was very just detrimental. It was alluding to the fact that Sheduer Sanders was being compared to Teddy Bridgewater. The Teddy Bridgewater, who has been a career backup for the most part, outside of his first couple years starting for the Minnesota Vikings. And this is what I have to say about this. This is insane. Is Sheduer Sanders a great, prolific prospect compared to the Caleb Williams that we've had, the Josh Allens, Lamar Jackson, even I could say to a certain degree. Who else can we really think of? Peyton Manning. Even the last couple of years, even last year's draft, even Drake May, Jayden Daniels. He isn't that type of flashy and don't present that much hype compared to his predecessors. Because a lot of people are saying this about Sheduer Sanders. He isn't fast. He doesn't like, a lot of people don't like his arm angle, which is something else that they talked about, but he has the old school over the head type of pass and doesn't have the sidearm that we see from Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, which a lot of coaches think is the more ideal throwing angle. You have that. Lack of arm strength, which I don't agree with. He's got the strength. He just don't have the power, the velo that a lot of coaches are looking for in this league. And that's pretty much it. But in my opinion, when I evaluate Sheduer Sanders and when I've watched him, he is a great pocket passer. He's accurate. And when the time came and when the moment was bright, he showed up. He was sacked the most in I don't know if that is accurate saying that he got sacked the most, but he was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the FBS by a landslide. I have the stats here. He was sacked 42 times this season, not including his sack, how many times he got sacked last year. But if Sheduer was in this draft class last year, I would say it was probably been the fourth quarterback taken. I don't think he would have been ahead of Caleb Williams. I don't think he would have been ahead of Drake May. And I don't think he would have been ahead of Jayden Daniels. But I sure do think he would have went ahead of Bo Nix easily. But we got to get over this just Sheduer Sanders hate. Is a lot of teams shying away from the fact that they might have to deal with Deion Sanders. I get it. We understand Deion Sanders. He wants to control everything. They actually posted a clip last week during Colorado's Pro Day where a scout was trying to help the boys with I think it was their 40-yard dash, and he was coaching them up on how to get. And then Deion Sanders just went over there like, "Hey, run the 40. How you going to run it?" And the guy was like, "Okay, I ain't got nothing to say." But we get that point of, but you got to sit here and think. You got to Sheduer Sanders is getting a special type of evaluation. He's not getting evaluated like the regular quarterback coming into the draft. He's getting evaluated like Deion Sanders' son. It's the same thing that's been going on with LeBron James and his son, and the critique and the amount of just hatred that's been and vitriol that's been going towards him. It's the same thing. A lot of people don't like Sheduer because he's been cocky. But I argue I want that my quarterback. I want that cockiness attitude. I want that attitude to say, yeah, I'm better than that person that I'm playing against. I'm better than that team. That's a good attitude to have, in my opinion. But why is there I've never understood so much questions over a guy who just this past season threw for 4,100 yards, had a completion percentage of 74%, a 37 touchdown, 10 interception ratio, a 168 passer rating, and a 75 QBR. With that garbage O-line that he had to play with. One of the worst, still, even though it was better than last year, one of the worst O-lines in the Power 5 in the FBS. So I don't want to hear just this, like, Sheduer Sanders is okay, man. You're comparing him to Teddy Bridgewater. That's low. Look, Teddy Bridgewater's been okay and decent in his career. He actually just retired and he came back with the Lions like this past year in the middle of the season. He had a tragic injury. Everybody remembers the hit in the head that he had, concussion. We get it. But in the same breath, we just cannot sit here and act like Sheduer Sanders doesn't have potential to be a great quarterback in the NFL, a bona fide starter and a top 10 quarterback in the league. He has all the intangibles. He has the leadership. He has the attitude, and he has the skill. I don't care about him being fast. Quarterbacks make it work. Is Patrick Mahomes the fastest human being of all time? Absolutely not. But the man's got 3 Super Bowls. He's made it work. Not everybody's had the God-gifted ability to be able to run, maneuver the pocket, just like Josh Allen has. Not a lot of people's been able to do that. But when you look at, he has an accurate arm, which is, in my opinion, the most important aspect of a college player that is hard to translate into the NFL. It's hard to get into the NFL and work on somebody's passing accuracy. Once you're leaving college and go to the NFL, that passing accuracy is not going to get much better. The exception to that, honestly, has probably been Lamar Jackson to a certain degree. But the Dak Prescotts in the world and a lot of these quarterbacks, when you evaluated them in college and they said that their knock on them was that they're not accurate enough, it normally has not ever changed into the NFL. He has leadership. He had the ability to put a team like Jackson State on the map and did the same thing with Colorado. Put them on the map. Almost had them in a chance to win the Big 12 this year if some things would have fallen into place with their defense, because they were able to score at will. And then he had outstanding numbers. So I don't understand. Number one, you're patting the ball. All of the quarterbacks do that in this league. Do you not need to do it on some certain situation? Yes. But in what situation has there not been a quarterback who has not patted the ball in the NFL? All the greats have done it. And I don't understand why you compare him to Teddy Bridgewater. If I'm not mistaken, well, I'm not going to say if I'm not mistaken because I know this is true, and it just came on my phone. Albert Beer, a writer for the NFL, I think he works for NFL Network, don't quote me on that, but he just came out with an article saying Sheduer at number 2 and number 3 is highly unlikely at the moment. And that is the Browns, and that is the Giants pick. I think Sheduer Sanders will be a great quarterback in the league. I just said it earlier. I really wish that it's really setting up now to a situation where Dallas could have got him. I would have loved to see Sheduer in Dallas. But we got to stop with this hate. This kid does not deserve it. He's only getting this because of who his father is. Sheduer Sanders is going to be a great quarterback in this league. You can bet on it. There's no nepotism here. He earned this shot to be in the NFL. He has earned his stripes. He has the play to back it up. He has that stud factor in him, and it is going to show in the league. People better watch out for Sheduer Sanders because I think this kid has a lot on his sleeve. I think he has potential to be better than Cam Ward. If I was the Titans, I would be given a very thorough thought process when it comes to what pick they're going to use. A lot of people, even the highest executives and draft professionals in ESPN and in NFL Network and in other respective sources, say, hey, Cam Ward's the absolute no-brainer. I get it. But you got to think about that man, Sheduer. What he had to go through at Jackson State. What he had to go through at Colorado. Having that bad O-line. And he made it work. He looked sensational. And he looked like he was one that could be worthy of being the number 1 overall pick in the league. I want Sheduer to go to a good situation. I don't mind the Saints. As long as he just doesn't go to the Browns, he would be okay. I would have been fine with the Giants. I really think the Giants should have considered Sheduer instead of going with Russell Wilson. But that's their loss. But seeing him in Pittsburgh would be ideal, and the Saints, I think, would be great too. But we just got to stop with this idea that Sheduer Sanders isn't a good quarterback. He has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks in the future and running the NFL. But that is all I have to say about that. And we're going to move on to another football topic. So my Dallas Cowboys ended up trading for somebody who is very interesting, a very interesting prospect, Joe Milton. So Joe Milton was somebody that coming into the draft slipped very bad. He was drafted in the 6th round. And he has a lot of talent. When I say a lot of talent, he has a lot of talent. And essentially, here's the trade details. The Cowboys will receive a 7th round pick, and the Patriots got a 2025 5th round pick and gave away Joe Milton as well. So who are the winners and the losers of this trade? The Cowboys are the winner. and the Patriots are the loser. First of all, if I'm the Patriots, what are we thinking in the front office? We understand you drafted both Drake May and Joe Milton last year. Drake May was your third overall pick. Joe Milton was your 6th-round pick. But there's no way in your right mind as an organization that you just give them away for chopped liver. And I respect the organization. They do right by their players. There was an article that came out that said there was other teams that had a better offer than what Dallas had. Specifically, I want to say it was the Eagles and another team. I cannot quite remember who that team was. But out of respect of Joe Milton and the situation they put Joe Milton in, they felt like it was the need to say, hey, you go get on. Where do you want to go? But Joe Milton his mom was a Dallas Cowboys fan. So she was like, I want to go. Well, he said, I want to go to the Cowboys because I grew up a fan and my mom was a fan. I've always wanted to play football in Texas. So there he goes. He chooses the Dallas Cowboys. But come on, just a 5th-round pick for Joe Milton? No players? No nothing? Come on. Come on, Kraft. Robert Kraft. What are we doing? We got to do better than that. Mike Vrabel. Come on. I mean, out of all the needs that the Patriots needed, you could have got one of our wide receivers to fill up that wide receiver need that y'all need, even though y'all just got Stephon Diggs 2 weeks ago. Could have got some defense, offensive lineman, something. Just a 5th-round pick. Whatever. And for the Dallas Cowboys, it's an insurance policy. Do I think that Joe Milton has some upside? Absolutely. I think Joe Milton has potential to be a great quarterback. And I'm not about to be one of these who thinks that Dak Prescott's job's in jeopardy. I saw it on Emmanuel Acho and them show. Emmanuel Acho put it like this in this scenario. All Joe Milton is going to do is just be looking back at Dak Prescott, be like, where's my water? Where's my tablet? Where's my rag? That's all he's going to do. And Emmanuel Acho's right. He's right. As much money as you pay Dak and the cap hit that he has right now, you're just going to have to eat it. Joe Milton's a great insurance policy, though, because Dak has had injury history the last couple years. He has not started a full season in a minute. Even last year, Dak actually missed a couple games. If I'm not this past year, but the year we just went 12-5 again, if I'm not mistaken, I think Dak missed some time that year too. So Dak has not completed a season in a while, in a very long time. So he's young, he's mobile, he's big. Big arm is what his strong suit is. He has a very big arm. That is the number one thing that people love with this kid coming into the draft. He had a big arm, bazooka arm. And we saw flashes of that in the very last game of the season last year in New England. Now, we can't say a lot about that, although, because of things like this. It was the final game of the season. Starters wasn't on the defensive side of football. No film on him. He played well. I get it. But Joe Milton has a chance to be great. Oh, I would say great. That's a little far-fetched. Let's just be realistic here. He has a chance to be a good quarterback in this league. You can't take away his skill. He has the intangibles to be a great franchise-leading quarterback. But guess what? What Joe Milton lacks is the intellectual part of the game. Is he smart enough to make the right read? Is his intellect there to make the right decisions when things go wrong? Can he play that chess game with the defense? Can he pick up on things? That's something that is hard for quarterbacks to grasp when you have that much talent. A lot of people thought that was what was going to happen with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has done his part. He's won 2 MVPs, and he's picked up on that. A lot of people think Lamar should have won his 3rd MVP. But in the whole scheme of things, Dak Prescott is your starter. You get Cooper Rush just got signed by the Baltimore Ravens, so you trade away this guy. The Trey Lance thing didn't really work out. You didn't want to bring him back. You get a guy who's got way more upside than what Trey Lance does, because I think we've saw Trey Lance's ceiling. We have. It was a whiff by the San Francisco 49ers organization. And just seeing that he was a third-round pick, that's what gave Trey Lance saving grace. But ultimately, in the end, it has not worked out. So guess what? You get a better option than Trey Lance. You go with Joe Milton. And if there's a situation, we've seen it in the past. We saw it with Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. We saw it with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love recently. We saw it with Tony Romo and Dak. Not essentially in the sense that when you get hurt and somebody else comes in. That was the sense with Bledsoe and Brady and Dak and Romo. Not the sense with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. But you saw them pick up their successor when, at their point in their career, you didn't know if that was going to be your future quarterback or not. So it's happened before in the past. So let's not sit here and act like it's never happened before. We've seen it all many times in the NFL. Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has a traumatic ACL injury. A lot of people thought Carson Wentz was going to be the next best quarterback in the Eagles franchise. It was short-lived. Now they draft Jalen Hurts and they just won a Super Bowl with him. It happens all the time in the NFL. So I'm not saying, and I'm not making it out to seem like Joe Milton's the next Tom Brady or even next Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts. What I'm saying is, if the kid gets a chance and he comes out and shine in any aspect, if Dak gets hurt, even in the preseason coming up this year, it's going to be hard for Dallas to sit here and just be like, all right, cool. When Joe Milton has intangibles that Dak don't have. He has an arm. He's pretty accurate. He's able to run. Those are things that Dak don't possess in his game right now. So it's something interesting to look at going forward, knowing that we got Joe Milton for 3 more years. And Dak Prescott's contract, if I'm not mistaken, does have 3 more years. So it's an interesting thing to see. It's an interesting story that's going to unfold in the next coming years because Dak Prescott's coming off multiple lower leg injuries in his career already. So, will Joe Milton be the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys in the next couple years? Maybe. But I'm not betting on it. But that is all I have to say about that. I'm very happy with it, and I'm very interested to see where it exactly goes for Dallas with Joe Milton on the squad. Moving on, we are going to talk about the NCAA tournament. I just made a video recently about the Duke Blue Devils and their tragic loss in the NCAA tournament. But I wanted to talk about it in whole because I want to talk about just where, and I've been meaning to talk about actually, the state of the tournament and us having number 1 overall seeds in the 4 sides of the bracket for the first time since 2008. And the fact of having no mid-majors in the tournament. And what does that mean for the future, essentially, of college basketball? And I'm going to give my opinions and thoughts on that. I think it's great. I really do. Does that take away and diminish the thought of March Madness? We all love the idea of March Madness. The tight games with the big C's. The upsets. We did see that to a certain degree, just not on a grand scale. Specifically the game I talked with y'all about with the Alabama and that one team they played. I cannot remember who it was. It was the 15th. Yeah, it was the 15th seed. It was the second weekend in the tournament. And that team was giving Alabama a run for their money. And Alabama ended up going to the Elite Eight. So, can it be done in the future? Yes. But we've seen it with the state of college sports in general, with NIL, with the transfer portal. A lot of these kids from the mid-major schools, they're going to the bigger schools. The kid Walter Clayton, who just won the Natty, point guard, put himself on the map. Nobody ever heard of the kid. He played at Iona State. I don't even know where that's at. I don't know. Don't ask me. And guess what? He just put his name on the map playing for Florida and winning a national championship. Same thing with the guy from Duke. He played at Tulane. That's not a big school. So we've seen a lot of these kids go from mid-majors and go to these major universities and ball out. But it's at the end of the day, what's the best product? With the Final Four, I thought we had a great Final Four. The games were good, even though Duke sadly lost. I don't want to talk about it. Just go watch the video to get my reaction about that. But Duke and Houston was good. Florida and Auburn was good. The final game with Florida and Houston, Houston was up 12 with I don't even remember. It was a significant amount, maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. Guess what? Florida comes back. And it's been the state of college. I was telling somebody, I was like, man, is it me with this NCAA tournament? There has been a lot of just 10-plus point comebacks with 3 minutes left. It happened in the Final Four, and it happened in the actual championship game. It's a wonderful thing to see. I think it's very entertaining, me personally, and I think it's a good brand steal. Do you like to see the real Cinderella stories with the St. Francis, St. Peter's, and all these small schools, Loyola Chicago a couple years ago? We've seen these Cinderella stories that we've loved to see over the course of the NCAA over the years. It's a great thing to see. But ultimately, you cannot tell me when you're in the Sweet 16 aspect, which is when I think college basketball and the NCAA tournament March Madness is at its best, when the 16 best teams are there competing against each other. And you got good. There was great basketball games. There was hardly, from the Elite 8 and Sweet 16-ish down, or even in the Sweet 16, if I'm not mistaken, there was a significant point differential in the wins. But in the Elite 8, all the way to the tournament game, games were close. The games were great. No beatdowns to no significant extent. And sorry, excuse me, I'm still sick. That's the reason why I'm over here scratching my nose so much. Y'all forgive me about that. But and NIL was going to persuade this. The NIL kids could go from these small mid-major schools, get some NIL money, and go to a bigger school. And do what Walter Clayton did. Shine. I think it's good for the NCAA and March Madness. You had your best teams in the tournament, and in the end, it's a good product. College basketball will always, I wouldn't say always, college basketball for me right now is a better product to watch. Specifically, in the regular season, and somewhat in NCAA March Madness is a better product than any aspect of the NBA right now. Because the NBA has a problem with playing hard, playing physical, and letting the guys play. The NCAA does a great job with, well, the NCAA ain't a factor of this, but the players in college basketball embrace the physicality, embrace playing hard. In the state of NIL, will we see that diminish sooner or later in some way, form, or aspect? I probably imagine, but I think they have a great product, and I don't think the idea of them, just having no mid-majors doesn't bother me, and I don't think it really bothers the average NCAA March Madness watcher. Does it probably sadden some hardcore basketball March Madness fans who really love the Loyola Chicagos and the St. Peter's and all these schools over the last couple years? Absolutely. I'm not sitting here saying that people aren't going to be affected by this, but this is good. It's not a bad, it's not a negative. And hopefully in the future, Duke will win their 6th championship. But hopefully in the future, we just keep seeing, specifically, get the NIL money spread out, because I think the SEC is starting to show with their NIL money coming from football. The SEC is slowly fixing to become a basketball conference too, alongside football, and it's getting very depressing to a certain degree, because the ACC used to be the big school, like the big conference in college basketball. Now, it's fixing to be the SEC again. And I saw Rick Pitino talk about it on the Pat McAfee show, and he was talking about, hey, since the Big East ain't got football, the Big East might be getting some of that football type NIL money. I don't know how true that is, but it's something interesting to think about. But ultimately, I like it. I hope it continues to get great. Could it probably get back to getting NIL getting done with the one and dones? Guys might want to come stay an extra year, continue to better the product and the programs. I said it might happen with Cooper Flag. And if it does happen with Cooper Flag, it's a good thing. Getting kids to stay, even though most programs are able to keep their guys for multiple years, but specifically for big programs like the Dukes and the Carolinas, Kentuckys, all these guys who just, even though they still get recruits, but these recruits always end up leaving early. So it's something to think about in the future, and I enjoyed the tournament. I'm looking forward to next year, and hopefully Duke will win their sixth natty, because we know they all choked it away this year. But moving on. We're going to follow a different path. And we're going to talk about some pop culture things, because I have something interesting that has been going on with the state of the movie industry and the film industry and all. So we've seen the Snow White discourse and how much money they're making, and it being one of Disney's biggest flops of all time. But that's not what I want to talk about. What came up with this topic was the responses I had on a recent discussion board I had for my class. In my class, I'm taking Intro to Mass Communications, and we talked about the movie industry. And our discussion board was about, do you utilize streaming services, and what type of movies do you watch? And it was very disturbing, the amount of people who said that they don't go watch the movies anymore. That they rather sit at home, utilize their streaming service to watch their films. When I tell you guys, 90% of the discussion board posts said that, was very disturbing. I am a homer. I like physical media. I enjoy going to the movies. I think going to the movies, for me personally, is one of the best things to ever do on this earth, entertainment-wise. I love film. I talk about it on my podcast for a living. I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life. I love film. I love movies. I love talking about movies. It fascinates me, the film industry. I love it. Acting. I've always even thought about being an actor. Even though that's probably never going to happen, I still might flirt with it in the future. But I love the genre of movies. I love the genre of acting. I love the genre of entertainment. And an aspect of it that I don't like that's creeped up the last couple of years is streaming services. I hate streaming services. Are they convenient? Yes. But guess what? I pay this amount of money for this streaming service. If they don't have that one movie I want to watch, I got to pay money for a different streaming service. And I know a lot of people like to use the Apple Pluses and things of that nature, where once you buy it, it's on there all the time. I don't know if Apple Plus, I know Apple Plus is a big one that a lot of people like to use. I didn't know Fandango actually has their own like movie service or something where they can buy movies and watch it off there too. That's an interesting one. Never heard about that one. Let me know about that one in the comments below as well. But I feel like when it comes to just the movies is slightly dying. And why I say that, and why my counter to this is the movie industry dead? Is going to the movies dead? No, it's not. This idea that going to the movies is going to die is not true. This idea that we're just going to fall away to it and go to streaming services is not true. We saw it during COVID. The streaming service era was big in COVID because we couldn't go to the movie theaters. So they released films in the movies, and people got comfortable with that. And we saw these numbers with Snow White. And I brought up this topic because a specific movie just came out. Snow White, as of April 5th, domestically, was only making $72 million. Mind you, with a $250 million budget. And we saw the success that recently just came out with Minecraft. Minecraft, just in its first weekend, they just made $80 million this weekend as well. But last weekend when it came out, it made $301 million worldwide, with $157 million in domestic, and it cost $150 million to make. You tell me, is the movie's dead? I say that with some context. Let's dial this back and let me drive my point home here. We get that Minecraft is a big IP. It is from a video game that is beloved, and I mean beloved, in pop culture and in the entertainment and in gaming. So did it already have a mass audience to begin with? Yes. But you're telling me cinema and going to the movies is dead when you have successes like this? And this is my problem, and where I'm going to drive my point here. It's about the quality of the movie. It's about getting away from what Hollywood has been promoting these last couple years since COVID. We saw it in Snow White. We saw the drama with the actress. We saw the drama with the political aspect of the film. And what did it do? It showed in the box office numbers. Guess what? You make a movie without all that and without any politics in the movie that I know of. I didn't go watch the movie. I'm not a Minecraft fan. I've never understood the hype around the game. But guess what? It's made a crap ton of money. It's already at $500 million in 2 weeks. And a lot of people and the trackers are saying it's going to easily make up to $900 million. So bravo, Warner Brothers. Bravo to the people behind the film Minecraft, Jack Black, Jason Momoa. Kudos to you guys. A lot of people say it's not a good film, but you made it for, this is what the movies is really about. You make it for the fans. You make it for the consumer. You made a great movie. Not in the eyes of the critics, but to that little boy who went to the movie with his mom. That's all that matters. That's what movies are for. Movies and entertainment is for the audience. I will die on that hill saying that. It's something that is falling away because Hollywood is thinking about the minority and not the majority. With Snow White, you wanted to follow the check off the boxes in the movie, this, and that, for a minority of your audience. But when the majority, and I just wrote about this in my paper for this week as well for that class, majority of the audience was those hardcore Disney fans that loved the original Snow White. Those hardcore Disney fans that has been watching your product since they were babies, has watched that movie since they were a child, have liked the other Disney princesses IPs that you've made as well. All it wanted to be was just to be accurate to the source material and stay true to that. But what does Disney do? The girl goes out, Rachel Zegler, and promotes the movie to get go, saying that it's not about the prince. You know, the prince ain't going to save Snow White, blah, 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 blah. But yet in the movie, what I've heard, it ends up happening. I haven't watched the film, but I've heard a lot of reviews about it. A lot of people have said that's what ended up happening. They just twisted it to a certain degree. And you change some aspect of the story. I even saw the stupid scene at the end of the movie where they're all dressed in Snow White. Not dressed in Snow White. They're all dressed in white, and they're supposed to be considered, I guess that's a way to seem that they're pure or something. And being Snow White got her name from the snow or something like that because of snow, and it had nothing to do with her skin tone, and her being the fairest of them all. They changed that aspect of it. It's things like that that gives you the results that you get in the movie industry. That's what's hurt the movie industry, because the average moviegoer is starting to catch up with these things. You can't tell me I'm not lying. I promise you. If the Thunderbolts And I've said this. If the Thunderbolts ends up making more money than Black Panther, Jesus, not Black Panther, than Captain America Brave New World, we're going to have a problem. I don't think that's going to happen because the Hollywood Reporter just came out late last week and just said that they're tracking around $70-ish million opening, and Brave New World had 88. So it is tracking to do under Brave New World. But I'm telling you right now, if Thunderbolts does better in the box office than Captain America Brave New World, we already know what that reasoning is. And I've seen this, and it's been something that's been going around about movie theaters trying to get people back into the movies. And Regal's CEO even suggested allowing texting and even allowing them to smoke weed in the movie theater. I heard another girl's video, which I didn't think, I was trying to look up information about that source. She was saying about movie theaters implementing a bowling alley. When ultimately what you need to do is worry about your publishers and your studios that's publishing movies into your businesses at AMC, etc., Regal, wherever you watch your respective movie theater at. Make sure they're producing quality movies so you can get more butts in seats, so you can decrease the ticket prices to go watch a movie and decrease the prices for the snacks. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, just on a weekend, on a weeknight, tickets is $13. Popcorn and a drink is $20. With your significant other, you're looking at a $50 date night to go watch a film. For the average fan and the average individual, that's too expensive. Do it? Yes, because me and my girlfriend, we cherish the idea of going to the movies. I love film. She loves film. We love watching movies. So am I going to pay that price? Yes. But the average moviegoer who's not as ecstatic about film as I am isn't going to pay that much money to go watch a movie. So how do we get people back into getting butts in movie seats? I just gave you the blueprint. Worry about what the audience wants. The majority of them. Not the people on Twitter with their accounts, which got all these stuff in their bio and they make all these questionable. I'm not going to get in detail, but y'all can go figure and think what I'm talking about. Okay? Not the people on Twitter, not the people on the internet. The average, think about who your target audience is. So when you are making a Snow White film, think about who your target audience was. Well, I would think that my target audience would be diehard Disney fans who has watched the original, who has consumed most of the old school Disney catalog, and is looking for an accurate representation of the original film. You had the recipe. Belle made a lot of money. Beauty and the Beast made a lot of money. I think Cinderella made a significant amount of money as well. Heck, even though it didn't do well, which I think this is where the average moviegoer is catching on to things, Little Mermaid made a pretty good amount of money. I think it made $800 million. So you had the blueprint, even though I think that movie was the downfall of this movie as well, of meaning Snow White, and along with other things as well. But we just got to get over this notion that streaming services is the future and streaming services is the way, because it's not. Film is made for theaters. Theaters is king. Theaters is where movies would need to be experienced in their true nature. I don't want to watch Avengers Doomsday on a streaming service. I want to watch Avengers Doomsday at my local AMC, at my local Regal, wherever you watch your respective movie theater at, in 4DX. That's where I want to watch a high blockbuster film, future blockbuster film. I don't want to watch it at my house on a couch with no movie theater studio quality sound system. I want to watch it in a movie theater with everybody else, with that big screen, with the sound panels, and enjoy it with my fellow lovers of the genre. That's when movies is at its best. We've seen the great clips on social media with Minecraft, the people throwing popcorn. Yes, this is a little excessive to a certain degree, but that's what makes cinema perfect. That's what makes the genre perfect. That's what makes the movies what they are. People get together, we can gather, and all just cherish and love the content. And that's what that's what the movies has been missing. Guys, think about it. What has been the great film since COVID? I can count them on my hands. It's been 5 years. And I don't think none of the movies coming out this year is going to expound upon that number by much. You had Barbie, Oppenheimer, Deadpool and Wolverine. That's recently. I can't really think of nothing else. Since COVID, that's been like a hit in the movies. Made people want to go see it. That's been good. I was really just talking to my mom recently. Outside of Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't remember the last Marvel movie that I really enjoyed. Superhero film that I really enjoyed in the movies. We got to get back to the quality. And that's important. Because I don't want these corporations to start thinking that putting a bowling alley, allowing texting, and allowing people to smoke marijuana in a movie theater will cause people to come watch movies. Sorry, sir, whoever the see, I didn't write now who suggested that, but sorry, buddy. I think that would drive people away, specifically the marijuana one, would drive people away from your movie theater. Maybe in some areas, maybe not. Maybe in California, that might be a big thing, but I know down here in North Carolina, that's a no. A lot of people will be leaving the movie theaters. I promise you that. But it's something that I've been passionate about and I've wanted to talk about. I know this is probably going to be the longest portion of the film. Oh, not the film, but the podcast. I've said film so much, I said podcast. But it's something to think about, y'all. And let me know what y'all guys think about it. Do y'all think I'm right or you think I'm wrong? I think I'm right. But I'm interested to see your feedback and see what you think about it. But we're going to move on into our last topic. I haven't been able to talk about it because I didn't really have no words on it. But recently, I had a little watch-a-thon, movie marathon with my girlfriend, and we watched the James Bond films. Y'all know recently the news that Amazon is acquiring the rights to the James Bond franchise, and they are going to be directing and making the next James Bond film. And I really, it's been a long time since I watched the James Bond films because when the last one came out in 2021, I remember not liking it as much. And when I went back and watched them, all 5, with Daniel Craig specifically, the GOAT, the legend, it's a great series, y'all. It really is. It really was. They were 3 out of 5 for me. 3 out of 5. And the other 2, they're still watchable, but they're not the best. And they skipped each one. Casino Royale was great. Skyfall was great. And at first, I said it was not that good when I first watched it. I remember saying that when I first watched it. But after watching it, I actually just watched it last night. It was a good film. It was a good movie. Compared to the others, it was a good movie in my opinion. I think Spectre and Quantum Solace really was a just meh. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It just left you in comparison to the other ones. It was like a meh. You were going to watch it obviously because you're a James Bond fan, and if you're a James Bond fan, you're going to enjoy it anyways because it's Daniel Craig, it's James Bond, it's the Aston Martins, it's the car chases, it's the fight scenes, it's the guns, and it's the iconic. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I mean, I really just didn't really grasp how good the 007 series was under Daniel Craig. I am going to end up looking at James Brosnan and some of the old ones as well because I'm interested to see how just good they were compared to Daniel Craig's. But I'm laying out the foundation. So, there's been a lot of talk about who the next James Bond is going to be. And I got a couple of names and a couple that's interested me. But let's get a little bit of background here. We got Amy Pascal that's going to be producing it along with David Heyman. Amy Pascal was responsible, actually, for the first 3 007 movies in production, as she's been the main focal point and main leader in the Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland. David Heyman's had his little fingers in a couple of things, a lot of things, actually. He's actually produced Barbie, which made a lot of money, obviously. Wonka, which I heard was pretty good. And he had his hand in the Harry Potter series to a certain degree. But I got a list of names that I am interested to see in playing James Bond. Now, do I think one is probably the best option? Yes. But I have to be honest, just having to fill the shoes of Daniel Craig is going to be hard. Daniel Craig was the man, y'all. I'll be honest, when I was watching him these last couple weeks and watching the watch-a-thon that I had and just consuming the James Bond films, it amazed me on how well he was in that role. The charisma, I mean, just the charisma. I can't really think of words, man, because it was just so breathtaking. Words can't really just define and exemplify just how good he was at that role. He was just great. The way they wrote his character, he was just a stud. He got the women when he could get the women. He was fighting everybody when he needed to fight. I mean, he was just great. Great acting. Great chemistry with a lot of his supporting actors. It was just great. I think they laid out a great foundation with his era, too, of cast members, great supporting cast, as I just stated. They were just great movies. Great movies, and I will cherish them for the rest of my life. I think I am collecting movies, so I think I'm going to buy all 5 of them on DVD for sure, because we know the state of the physical copy of things going on lately in the entertainment industry. Physical media is not going to be a thing in a couple years, so I need to jump on that as soon as possible. But some interesting names that I would like to see as James Bond, even though it is going to be some tough shoes to fill. Number 1 being Henry Cavill. It is the internet's number 1 candidate, I can say, because a lot of people really think that he should be the next James Bond. He's already British. With my James Bond, he's got to have that same charisma that Daniel Craig had. He's got to be able to just be the one. He's got to get the women. He's got to be a bad you-know-what. And then he's got to be able to mingle along with his supporting cast and have great chemistry. We all love some Henry Cavill. We know what he's done with Superman. We know that he should still be Superman to this day. I haven't seen Henry Cavill outside of that role. I haven't even seen him in Mission Impossible. But from what I've heard, he was great. Henry Cavill as a person, in real life, he's delightful. Everybody loves him. So seeing him in the role as James Bond would be great, in my opinion. I think he might be my top candidate. But yeah. He will be able to pull off the look. He looks like a spy. He's in this great physical shape, obviously. He's great. Another one that would be interesting is Richard Madden. This is something that I got from an article, and I didn't really think about him until I actually saw the article. I'm like, okay, he could pull this off. He's got the looks. I saw him in the Cinderella movie. He played Icarus. I think he could really pull off a good James Bond. He really could. He's got that look. He looks like a spy. He looks like he could be, yeah. He's got the look. I think out of all of these, he's the one that has the look. But do I think he has the acting to quite pull it off compared to the other ones? I don't think so. I haven't seen him in a lot of roles. But y'all know me. I go with looks first. Okay? You got to look the part before anything else. I think the acting can go along with it to a certain degree, but you got to look the part. It happened with Robert Downey Jr., even though Robert Downey Jr. was already a great actor, but he looked the part, and guess what? The acting came along with it, because we all know how he got progressively better with Iron Man as the MCU went on. The same thing with Chris Evans. A lot of people didn't like Chris Evans to begin with, but he looked the part, and he was able to blend into that Captain America role. So that is something that is going to happen with the 007 role. So Richard Madden, he's a good-looking guy. He looks the part. Do I think that he could pull it off to a certain degree at some point? I think he can. And moving on to my last prospect, even though there's a lot of ones, Idris Elba was one I left off the list because I really don't. I love Idris Elba, but seeing him had to follow up on a 007 out of Daniel Craig, no. That's just me. That's just my personal opinion. Aaron Taylor Johnson. I've seen him in a couple things, and he is probably the one that I've seen. He reminds me of Daniel Craig when it comes to his action movies. I haven't seen Craven because I heard of how bad it was, and I didn't want to entice myself to that toxicity of a film. But I'm interested to see it in the future. I want to see. My parents actually watched it and they said they enjoyed it. But I think Aaron Taylor Johnson could really pull it off. He played Quicksilver in the MCU. He actually watched. He was in something else that I watched, but he can. He's got. Excuse me. He has the characteristics to be able to, acting wise, to pull it off. He really does. If anybody has the acting ability to probably pull this role off charisma wise, I think he does the most. Henry Cavill has a bit of the both the overall. I just don't think Aaron Taylor Johnson looks the part. But this is what's interesting about my prospects here. Henry Cavill's got a mix of both. He could look the part and he can act the part. Richard Madden looks the part, but I don't think he can act the part. Aaron Taylor Johnson looks like he can act the part, but he doesn't look the part. You know what I'm saying? I got a great just variety of everything in my list. And it's something, if the producers, Amy Pascal, David Heyman, hey, if you ever get these castings, give me some kudos first, and or if not, I'll copyright you. I'm just playing. But hey, I think it's a pretty good list. If I'm a producer, I think this is probably what they look like in the debate room when trying to figure out who their next James Bond is. I did read an article, so they're currently already in London getting ready to shoot this bad boy, and they're getting ready to produce it as we speak. So I won't be surprised if we get news of the next James Bond in the next coming months, maybe. Definitely before 2025 ends. But got some big shoes to fill. Daniel Craig did a great job. I went back and watched the movies. Like I said, amazing. Great. Just never take for granted, you know. I will never take for granted. I took it for granted, but man, great franchise, great 5 films. Thank you so much, Daniel Craig. Those were my childhood movies growing up, and just going back and watching them and just being able to consume them. They just made me genuinely happy inside. It makes you genuinely happy inside to know that there's still good movies out there from the past, because we know in today's age of movies, not a darn thing's getting made that's actually any good. It was just great cinema. Absolutely great cinema. But that is all I got for you guys today. If you guys enjoyed this iteration of the Alpha Podcast, be sure to hit that like button on the video and subscribe to the channel, and to tap that notification bell to get notified when all my videos go live. I got another Alpha Podcast cooking up for you guys in the next coming days, and it is going to be a good one. I thank you guys so much for joining me for this iteration of the Alpha Podcast, and I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next one. Click my link in the description to get all my other videos as well. When it comes to playlist, the Alpha Podcast links, and my other videos. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Love and oh, did y'all really just think I was about to sit here and forget my sign off? The signature sign off. Wow. That is very but I'm gonna give it to you right here, guys. I love you guys so much. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See you.